This is the Lippin Putts Podcast here in the Woodward Sports Studio. We are back for episode 17. Sam, watch out for the ropes.
Yeah, watch out from the top rope as well. Wait, actually, we should check. Are there any cords, things that can knock us out, knock us on our feet?
We got a few going with.
Yeah, I know.
With the cameras going.
Got to be careful. Here. You know, when you walk into the patrons, when you come back out, you never know, that rope can get you.
Yeah, I know. God forbid.
Yeah.
Rope.
And if that's the case, man, I will be on the floor knocked out.
Yeah, and complain about other people for walking into the rope. But we'll talk about that. Bryson's debacle at LIV Golf Chicago this past weekend.
Too.
Yeah, he ruined it for himself.
But
what a moment, though. That was great. We'll talk about we'll talk about that in a bit.
Definitely a little viral moment.
We got the Fortinet Championship. Max Homa brings home the title. That was thrilling finish.
Yeah,
thrilling.
Great call by Sam. Max Homa will not win.
Yeah. And then we'll do our little President's Cup preview at the end of the show. So
yeah, it'll be
Americans heavily favorite.
Yeah, heavily, you could say. And, we had a great birdie of the week, I think. Well,
yes.
I mean, I'm going to speak for mine.
Definitely shared.
So either way, going to be, a shorter show, but some things to touch on. So yeah, you alluded to PGA Tour season kicked off.
Yes, sir.
The final, at least for now, PGA Tour wraparound season kicked off as the following season there will not be any part of, there are going to be fall events, but it won't be part of the season. Max Homa defends his title, gets his 5th PGA Tour win, same amount as Big Dick Rick.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
I was thinking of like 12 different people to say it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. It means 5.
Yeah.
But Max Homa wins. And I just I saw something the day he had won, and we'll talk about how he won specifically. But this is now his 5th win on tour. Back in
5th win in the last year.
Well, not in 5th. I mean, I think 4th because he had won one or that's something like that. He won.
Okay, you could be right.
Yeah, he won early, like in 2020. But basically, he's now won this event back to back. It's his third win in the last basically year.
Yeah.
But he birdied his last 4 holes in the Korn Ferry Finals to earn his card. Not in the Korn Ferry, in the Korn Ferry Tour to make the cut and earn his card. After the year where he missed every cut on the PGA Tour to get back on, and now just to see where he went from almost not qualifying for the PGA Tour that season to now turning into basically a guy you start to fear in these events, and a guy who, while he has not won a huge event, he won the Genesis, which is pretty big, but a lot of people might not look at that. He's a player who is continuing to, I would say, move up the ranks, and people need to start worrying about. Not just he's a viral funny guy from Twitter, but he's actually a good fucking golfer. So
yeah, and it's crazy too because we talked about he's 32, I believe now, 31, 32, and he's just now starting to really bloom. I feel like on the PGA Tour, which is, some guys you'll see him have early success and then kind of flatten out throughout their 30s, but he seems to really be figuring out his game and starting to play with a ton of confidence, which I think is dangerous for a lot of the guys on tour.
Yeah, well, and you just talked about it. There is the expectation, or there was, where PGA Tour players in the past used to start to turn their careers kind of at 30, that 28 to 32, 33. That's when they make that step. Phil Mickelson didn't win his first major until 2004 when he was well above 30. And you've obviously saw what type of career he has had. And now there's this younger core. So I think expectations have changed to where if you are not a 25-year-old stud or 28-year-old stud, you may have missed the prime of your career. But exactly what you're saying, for Homa, this has been the best he's ever been. I mean, the highest he is in the world. He's making the President's Cup team for the first time. If you're looking, if I'm him, I am so excited for what's to come.
Yeah. And the way this tournament finished, too, and obviously the other guy we got to talk about was Danny Willet.
Monsieur Willett.
Former Masters championship, won the Masters when Jordan Spieth had the diabolical
7
meltdown
or something
on 12.
Willett did shoot 67 that day.
He did, a bogey-free 67.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of the first time we've seen his name at the top of a leaderboard in a long time. And seemingly the 18th hole is one of the craziest finishes I've ever watched in golf in my entire life, because it seemingly Willett and Homa both hit great drives down the pretty much the middle of the fairway. So they left their second shot just short of the green. They both had wedges into 18's green, which you thought it was done because Max Homa was one shot back, and so Homa goes first, or excuse me, Willett goes first and knocks his ball to like 4 feet.
Yeah,
and
4 feet above the hole.
And honestly, I almost turned it off.
And keep in mind, Willett has a 1-shot lead.
Correct. Yes, 1-shot lead. And I legit almost turned the TV off. And then Homa steps up and misses the green. Like there's this little.
He was in a bunker. He had like a 40-yard bunker shot.
Yeah, and he was in this like little like not ravine, but just a runoff area,
which was about 3 feet below the pin.
Right, and you're like, okay, so he has to step up there and he has to make this now. And sure as shit, hits the most perfect chip shot you could ever hit in that situation. Hits the flag stick, boom, goes in the hole.
Yeah.
And fired up. Like, okay, he put the pressure. He at least put pressure on Willett to have to make a putt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Willett missed the putt, hit the left edge, and ran out about 5-6 feet by the hole.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 2 putts that he should have made.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
And then missed it coming back, and then Max Homa ended up winning.
Yeah, but like he basically, I think he had a longer par putt coming back from birdie.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to be so rattled if you're Willett. I mean, okay, I just hit a great wedge shot to 4 feet or 5 feet for birdie, and now where we're at, I'm gonna actually pull up the shot tracker on PGA Tour. Now where we're at is Homa. I'd like to think I can make birdie here. Worst case, I'm making par. That means Homa has to get up and down out of this bunker from 40 yards out, which we all know that it is not an easy shot by all means. He missed a 3-foot 7-inch putt according to the shot tracker.
Oh, okay.
And then he had 4 feet 8 inches.
And he handled it too after his press conference in the media center. Yikes, after he goes, he said he saw Montgomery's putt.
Oh no, he had 6 feet for par then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we've all done that. We've all been there. I've been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
It humbles you a little bit.
The hard part about it though is, I mean, you're fully sitting there like, okay, when Homa misses the green, I have 2 putts to win this. Like that's what you're thinking in your mind. And I know you're always taught from a match play to talk about like, I got to sit there and assume the guy's going to make it. But that was not an easy chip shot he had. He had to hit it perfect. It had to check perfectly. And it had to get the right type of bounce off the pin. Like, not that it hammered the pin by any means, but when the pin's in, it can redirect different ways. Absolute perfect chip. But when you have, like, I have 4 feet to 2-putt to win, like, that's what I'm thinking. And the guy makes it, like, fuck, is that rattling?
Yeah. Agreed, because he short-sided himself, too. It wasn't on the easy side of the hole. And when that happened, you're like, okay, like you almost, when you were watching it, you almost felt the pressure for Willett come through. Because we've all been in situations where we've had a short little putt that either it's for $100, $200, it doesn't matter. Like we've all felt that pressure before, and that it can even happen on the PGA Tour. And sure enough, hit the lipped out, had 6 feet coming back. And honestly, I thought he was going to make, because it just seemed like it was straight up the gut and missed it left of the hole. It was just an insane 20 minutes of golf that happened on Sunday.
Oh, exactly. And like, think of the odds. Like, let's talk about the odds when Homa has this chip for birdie, and with where Willett's at, with a 1-shot lead. They're both hitting the same shot, and Willett has a 1-shot lead. Not only for Homa to win, but win outright, not in a playoff.
Right.
Like, everything had to go right there, and it did. I mean, look, if you're Willett, you go for the win. I don't think you're sitting there like, let me lag this 3-footer, because this is what it was. I mean, it was 3 feet 7 inches according to the play-by-play here on the shot tracker. 3 feet 7 inches. Let me lag. You're not going to lag this birdie putt up. So he hits it, and now he has 6 feet coming back.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit.
Well, and
I do?
He hit it firm too. You knew he did. I mean, obviously he ran it 6 feet by the hole, which is funny because we'll talk about it later. But I had a putt earlier this week that it was downhill slightly, and I thought I just barely tapped it. Hit the lip, kind of did the same thing, and ran 7 feet, 8 feet by the hole.
But yeah, I mean, it's a tough. I mean, so obviously Willett makes the bogey on 18. He also bogeyed in the 9th, which was a par 5. Like, you just look at, loses the tournament by 1. I mean, there's just obviously things you can look at, but we always talk about, like, first one in. Whenever you're playing match play, if you're playing against one of your friends or anything, first one in. Like, let's say a guy's got 6 feet and you got 12 feet. Hey, if you make that 12-footer, all the pressure's now on this guy. And that's just what happened. He was first one in. It's like, holy shit, now I got to make this for the win. Oh, I missed it. Now I got to make this other one. It just changes the whole complexion of everything there. And it's crazy to think, but, like, kudos to Max Homa, man. I mean, this guy is a dog.
Yeah, and obviously he's a name that people love on the PGA Tour now. He's very popular in the media, Twitter, all of that fun stuff. And especially with, the PGA Tour competing on the same weekend as LIV Golf, it's something that, for them, it's a huge win for it being a lower tier event.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, for the PGA Tour, it's, hey, who's the favorite going in? And we said, like I said, I don't like the favorites in these events because it's so hard to win, and it's like the third time that's happened on my fucking face.
Yeah. So every time Sam says don't fall in love with the favorites in the smaller tournaments, bet a favorite because there's a good chance they're going to
literally. All right, so that is now his fourth win since 2021. So he obviously won the Genesis in early 21, then he won the Fortinet to start the 2021-2022 season, won the Wells Fargo, and then won the Fortinet again. He's actually only won 3 different events in his career, 2 Wells Fargo, 2 Fortinets, and now obviously the Genesis. But yeah, I mean, he's 16th in the world, best he's ever been. And it's crazy to look. I'm trying to pull up this like form, what he was at and what he dropped all the way to back in 2018. He was at the end of 2017. He was 959th in the world.
Isn't that crazy how much like just 5 years can change?
Exactly, and he's a guy who won a national championship, like the individual outright at Cal. He wasn't like a heavily touted guy coming. I mean, he was a good player. I mean, he was one of the top premier college players. So sometimes it just takes a little bit to get to, and learning how to win and learning how to succeed at the highest level takes a long time. And we have these expectations that these players have to do it right away. When sometimes it is just an aspect of cutting your teeth and learning that. So just, worth noting. But, Max Homa wins. Danny Willet second. I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about who finished third place.
Yeah, your pick, your guy.
My pick to win, Taylor Montgomery, Mr. 26. But he actually, I mean, like, the good news with that, we talked about how, through the COVID year, he finished 26th on the money list, which because of how the web.com was that year, the Corn Ferry now, he might have gotten in the year before, might have not, I don't know. And then he gets 26 in the finals, obviously qualifies this upcoming year and gets third place. He's almost secured his card now. All he needs is like a few made cuts and like a non-60 place. Like you just need to finish in the top 50 like 4 times now.
Yeah, I mean,
or he just has like one top 20 the rest of the year. He's in. He's qualified. So that's huge. I think just from a standpoint of comfortability. And so Taylor Montgomery came in third. Justin Lauer, we talked about the guy at the Wyndham who missed that putt, or 3-putted, the last hole. He had a tough Sunday, T4 though. In the event, he was in the lead going into the final round.
Had a tough Sunday.
Yeah, but it was a tough golf course. Like I mean, rain, crappy conditions.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
So
I will say Willett too, and Willett also said in his post round press conference, people are like, "Are you kind of sad?" He goes, "Obviously you want to win, but for me," he goes, "To me, I'm kicking off this 22-23 season with a second place finish."
Yeah.
He goes, "To me, it's a great start to the year."
Yeah, no, that's the positive way to look at it. I mean, for him, again, basically he needs to make one cut, and I think he's I think it's 300 FedEx Cup points, and usually it's like 320, 330 is automatically, usually always in. So, yeah, it's interesting to think, but we obviously need to talk about some guys who tied 6th.
Yeah,
specifically one who now is tied in the amount of PGA Tour wins with our guy Max Homa now.
Yeah.
And that's Big Dick Rick.
The guy that I picked kind of as my comeback player of the year. So we're off to a good start.
Talk about a good start.
Yeah, no kidding. First event of the year, already at T6. So.
But Sal, I mean, he opened with 67, 69, 69 on the weekend, T6.
Yeah, went a little backwards on Friday, but,
But you got to like where he's at. I mean, this is like...
So he's back with Butch Harmon again.
Mm-hmm.
After... I can't remember exactly who... Oh, it was... John Tillery was his Till
coach.
gang. Yeah, he's part of the Till gang. But he's back with Butch Harmon now, and that's obviously when he had a lot of success. So I would not be surprised to see Ricky hopefully kind of turn a page in a dark chapter of his career and be the Ricky that we've seen, winning Waste Management Opens, competing for majors.
What if he won a major this year?
That would be so good for the game of golf.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he basically hasn't been competitive in a major since that final round where he was paired with, I think it was either Justin Thomas or Jordan Spieth. It was like 2017, and we're like, that's the group that's going to win. No, they didn't win. Yeah, they didn't even come close.
I would look like a genius if that happened.
Yeah, you would. Who was the other guy who tied for 6th, though?
Our boy who fucks.
Yeah, good start. I mean, home game models are off the charts.
Lippy Award winner.
Yeah.
Sahith Theegala.
Cali boys, though, show out for some of these events.
Well, it was in Cali, right?
Yeah, so, but they get excited. But yeah, Sahith, 11 under, T6. Obviously, you got to be pretty excited. He had a tougher weekend, but 71-70 on the weekend. But you're right there, and in an event where he was probably one of the top 5 favorites to perform like that is always a positive.
Guy just continues to just wax off top 10
Yeah.
finishes on the PGA Tour. Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah, and we're probably saying he is, if my guess, he was probably the guy on the 13th guy for the President's Cup team. Zalatoris would have been, but he's hurt. So
Yep.
That's the one thing I would say. And, Sahith now moves up to 51st in the world. I mean, if he gets to that top 50, granted, he made the Tour Championship, so it really doesn't matter.
Yep.
But that there's more access at the end of the year if you're in the top 50 for majors. So
Yeah, well, and then you also get the World Golf Classics, too.
exactly. So
it's big for him. My pick, Davis Riley, first round he shot 78 and then 72. So
I think he's
great
fading.
pick. Great pick by me.
But another Davis Thompson, who I talked about, be on the lookout. Top 10, T9. I mean, I mentioned like 15 guys to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, you did. So
one person we didn't talk about because he was injured a lot last year, but another comeback player of the year guy, Harris English.
Yeah.
He was performing at a very high level. He was on the Ryder Cup team last year, and he got hurt. He had the hip issue, and he made a couple starts toward the end of the season. But just watch out. I mean, if he gets back into form from where he was at, he's a guy who really started to win again and kind of figured it out. So just
Harris English looks like a guy that should have been the president of the United States, like back after George Washington was president. The way he looks and his name,
yeah,
he
would
seems
fit in
like
colonial America.
Yeah, he seems like he would have been a president at some point in time.
President English.
Maybe if he gets tired of the PGA Tour, retires from the game of golf, maybe he'll run for president.
He could be a house.
I just feel like with a name like that, you have to run for president.
Congressman English.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I'm just saying.
Look, that could be the call of the century. But yeah, just wanted to go down, and then Tom Hoagie, T12. This is where this is a big tournament, and not from a standpoint of do people want to watch it. No, don't get us wrong. If we want to talk about the field, we'll probably compare that to LIV in a little bit.
But we like the up and comers. So
we do. But for the normal golfer, but this is big for guys who are not huge name players who don't have that status, but they can earn status by playing well in these fall events. They can earn FedEx Cups, and they can set themselves up for the following season. Tom Hoagie is a perfect example of a guy who had a really good start to the year when no one was watching golf, ends up making it to the Tour Championship because he had one good playoff event, makes the Tour Championship, gets in all the there's so much access and value from some of these events, which is surprising. And so it is good to see some of these guys have these good events early on.
Yeah, my boy Marty Dow, little T21 finish.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's the name. People are going to be looking at the leaderboard like, where's this Marty Dow that Nick keeps talking about?
Zheng Chen.
Yeah, Zheng Chung. I'm only going to attempt one time. Yeah, there's another name at T25, Jimmy Walker.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Jimmy Walker on a leaderboard since.
I honestly thought he was going to go to LIV.
Like Century Tournament of Champions in 2018.
Yeah, he. I honestly thought he would have maybe they didn't offer him because he doesn't move the needle at all. But he what did he use that lifetime career earnings to keep his PGA Tour status this year?
Yeah.
So either way,
making the most of it though.
What was your thoughts though? I mean, were you able to watch a bunch of the both, kind of seeing the differences between LIV Golf Chicago and the PGA Tour? I mean, obviously you're not going to get a ton of fans for this event. It's in Cali. The weather was shit over there. It's hard to get people to go out to an event with this field, especially when it's 55 and rainy, 60 degrees and rainy. But what was your, I guess, to put a bow on the Fortinet, any final takeaways from it?
No, I mean, I just, again, I think the way it finished out, it was ideal start for the PGA Tour season. One of your most popular guys goes out and gets a victory. And Max Homa is a guy that people want to see win and continue to win. They want to see him win majors. All around, there's not a lot you can say bad about Max Homa. And, he said after the round 2 that he kind of came out with a chip on his shoulder because he was getting a lot of mentions and stuff on social media. Again, he's a big social media guy. He was getting a lot of mentions that if the LIV guys didn't go to LIV, then he wouldn't have been on the President's Cup. So he said he came into this week a little bit motivated, and sure enough, it got the job done for him. So
the thing is, I still think he would have been. He would have been the 12th guy. He was the 8th guy. It was a lock. But yeah, either way, I totally get. Yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah. But I mean, everyone looks for a way to kind of fuel their own fire, and if that's what he needed to do, then so be it.
Well, and if people are going to say that, they can go ahead and say it.
Right.
But people went to LIV. They said they're not going to take him on the PGA Tour, and that's their decision. So cool. Let's move on.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, overall, fun way to. I did not expect to get that much enjoyment out of
The Fortinet.
The
only bummer was, like you texted me when it had happened, because I was like, I'll turn it on kind of in between Sunday Night Football and the end of the afternoon games. And so I had to go back and basically like watch, not the highlights, but like watch the coverage later. And I was like, crap, I missed because they had bumped it up because of weather, which like that's on me for not checking or looking at these things.
Yeah,
but
come on. Are you on a golf podcast or something?
I could blame the PGA Tour for having terrible media, but that also could have just been me like being on Twitter for 2 seconds and seeing it. So yeah. I'll take that one off the chin.
Yeah. Overall good. And, luckily for everyone in the PGA Tour, nobody ran into any ropes, so didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so if anyone's confused how we opened the show, you can find it somewhere. Bryson DeChambeau, if you don't know,
it's
in the world of
everywhere.
golf, like I don't know how you don't, but Bryson DeChambeau walked into a rope. Basically, it hit a shot into the patrons at LIV Golf. I think this was the second round. I don't know for sure. It doesn't matter. And so when he was walking back from the patrons to the course, they had to lift the rope. They didn't lift it like high enough, but he walks in and his hat like kind of tilts his head down and his hat clips the rope down. So it's his fault, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because he didn't want to just like bend his back. He was trying to just walk straight. And then like the rope grazes his eye. And look, I get like when something kind of gets close to your eye, you have that like fight or flight reaction, like get it out. But man, did he tumble like he had been shot. And it was like, dude.
It was a bad look
bad look for golfers.
Yeah, bad look for golfers, especially when the guy that works out the most now and puts it all out there is the brute force of golfers everywhere goes down like that because a little rope got you in the face. Bad look for us golfers everywhere.
I mean, he like melted.
Yeah, you would have thought
it was like the sun hit a witch or something. It was like, dude.
Yeah, and he was like blaming the guys like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. He was like, you walked into a rope, and it's not like the rope gave him like a rope burn. There's a lot of slack. Like you can get a rope burn from tubing or something that right. Fucks you up. But this was like he walked into a loose cord.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I've watched it like 20 times probably, and I laugh every time. And then when he's just on the ground, like it's just, are you okay? He goes, no, like I'm not. And I was like, dude, get up and go hit your next golf shot.
Yeah, I mean
I've watched my cousin tumble out of a golf cart before and start laughing. And if that was Bryson, he would have had a stretcher off like Paul Pierce did when he got cramps.
Yeah. Tiger Woods won a goddamn U.S. Open on one leg, played 91 holes with a shattered leg, and like, goddamn. And look, Bryson he does this to himself. Yes. And the moment he does anything, people love to just attack it right away. But he'd been pretty good for the last year about not being so out there with these outlandish comments, and then this shit happened. It was like, all right, let's pour back on.
How could you not? And two, it's like, hey, you're not on the PGA Tour anymore. Like that doesn't go towards your PIP award by any means.
Shucks.
Which people are gonna be like, he get paid anyway, so it's a joke, people.
Yeah, they'll get mad at you.
But I guess the story in that was kind of the story of this event. I mean,
in my mind, yeah.
It
overshadowed their best player winning in the event.
Yeah, Cam Smith brought home the title. Wasn't very close. Won by 3 shots over Peter Uihlein,
former USAM, and Dustin Johnson.
Yeah, and Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson was out to a huge lead on first round,
63, and then shoot 73 in the second round.
Yeah. So again, we've a lot of people in LIV Golf like to be doing that right now.
Chase Koepka with his highest finish, 9th place this week. Laurie Cantor 11th. I mean, you started seeing some different names, but just to go down, I mean, Uihlein getting second's like the surprise.
Yeah.
But then you had, DJ, then Sergio 4th, Joaquin Niemann 5th, Louis Oosthuizen Schwartzel. But yeah, no, I mean.
Like that's so, like, before we move too far, like people were sitting on the leaderboard for the Fortinet Championship, and then you had the leaderboard too for LIV Golf. It's very like similar as far as firepower goes. Like I really only look, to be honest, like, and people might not agree with this, but at like this year's golf, like if you're just taking the calendar year from January all the way to where we're at now, and I get Bryson DeChambeau was hurt, but I only look at 2 really powerhouses on LIV Golf, and that's Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
Everybody else has kind of been just middle of the road.
Yeah, well, and that's why, I'd say Niemann was another guy that they went and got who's a good player. But, like, I 100% agree with you. They're saying, like, look how many majors, look at this field, it's so much better. It's like, well, yeah, I get your thought because it's a bunch of has-beens, but, like, how much have they really done this past year? And so look, I know we can look at everything in a vacuum, and we can look at one round. Hey, a guy played a bad round, he's a bad player. Like, no, it's a full season. But that's what we're talking about here. Like, Cam Smith, I'm not going to argue. Dustin Johnson, he didn't have a great year. Not going to argue, though. He's still, I would say, a top 10, top 15 player in the world by all means. Joaquin Niemann, top 30 for sure. But, like, after that, we're ripping on, like, hey, Phil Mickelson got 8. That's a big name. It's like, not really. I mean, he won a PGA last year, but what else has he done? He had one hot week.
Yeah.
Louis Oosthuizen was really good in the majors 2 years ago, not this past year. Charles Schwartzel hasn't done shit since he won the Masters.
Well, that's why, and I'm not trying to shit on the LIV leaderboard by any means too, but it's cool when you have all of these different stories, like from the PGA Tour, like the Justin Lauer situation.
Yeah, the Taylor Montgomery thing.
Taylor Montgomery story. Like, and then you go to LIV, and then you get a guy like Peter Uihlein, like former U.S. Amateur champion, didn't really have a great PGA Tour career, was kind of just over on the DP World Tour, playing a ton of events over there. Comes out and has a good week in LIV Golf, makes some money for the time and effort that he's put in over his career. So as much as people are like, oh, there's a bunch of no names in the Fortinet, well, okay, there's a bunch of like kind of no names too on top of the leaderboard in LIV Golf. It's not, I just want people to sit back and just appreciate the golf for what it is, because again, it's still super competitive, whether it's LIV or PGA. Anybody can win on a week-to-week basis. Now with LIV, I think you're going to get more of the Cam Smiths and DJ winning, but at the same time too, you did have Henrik Stenson play one event. He won. Charles Schwartzel, Brendan Grace, they've all won. But like, that just goes to show you that nothing is certain in golf right now. Anybody can win on a weekly basis, and that's what makes golf so fun to watch, is it changes from week to week.
Exactly. And here's my thought. There's 48 players in this field. The top 10 of 48, okay, you're talking about just over 20% of the players will finish in the top 10. So you're going to have bigger names when they have 24 guys who have either won a major or won a certain amount of PGA Tour events, are household names for people who've been watching golf, sparingly for the last 10, 15 years. When you're talking about the PGA Tour, you're talking about a 144-person field. Getting in the top 10 there, that's almost less than a 5% chance. You're just not going to get the big names as much always in these events. But yes, were there bigger names than LIV? 100%. I'm going to sit here and agree. I just, like, when people sit there and shit on the PGA Tour field compared to this, I just am like, that's a dumb argument in my mind.
Yeah, it's not a good, and that the only one that they play every time is the major card. And of course, like, you already know who the majors are. You know Patrick Reed, Sergio, like, they've all won majors. But why is that relevant to LIV Golf? Because they were on the PGA Tour to begin with. So again, it's a bad argument. Again, appreciate LIV and the money that these guys are making, and some of the events. Like, if it wasn't for LIV, we wouldn't have gotten the Bryson DeChambeau moment this past weekend,
exactly,
which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I will say they need to differentiate their trophy a little bit. That's one thing that it's kind of the same trophy for everything.
Yeah, I mean, again, I put like that thing in how teams are going to work, and like, yes, the 4 Aces won. We haven't even talked about that. They've won their 4th straight event.
Yep.
Nice pick.
They
got to be like minus 250 to win every week now. But what I would say is part of that, I think, is like that stuff will be figured out next year.
Yeah.
They'll make sure it's probably a little more like, we're just trying to get shit off the ground. And if I know, like, it's probably sounded like I've been shitting on LIV a little bit this episode.
No, it definitely sounds like
yeah. And so let me preface this so everyone's going to get angry and blah blah blah. What LIV has done in a makeshift stand-up 5 tournaments, create broadcasting rights, create this social media buzz that makes it look like it's fun to go to, whether or not it's fake, whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say they bring in concerts. It is an event that people are playing golf at, which is really cool. And the fact that they've been able to successfully set this up with, if we're talking about 7 months at this time, there was just, hey, this thing might be starting, but we don't really know what's going on. And to put on these events with 3 more left in the calendar, it has been a tremendous success for them and what they've been able to do. So I don't want to sit here and say, like, they're failures, this sucks. Like, no, what they have done has been so successful, I think, in their mind. And they definitely think that they're working. I mean, obviously, they put out that OWGR letter today and everything. But, like, if you want to talk about something that has been successful, it is the way they've started this tour. If it's a 50-step process, they've made a lot of positive strides. There's still a long way to go. But they've done a good job. I just think where we're at is we want it to be a little more competitive. And I don't know if you're I don't think you're a huge F1. You like NASCAR. You're not a big F1.
Yep.
Anyone who's a big F1 fan, the Drive to Survive, like there's primarily two guys who win those races. It is Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. And there's guys who can win every now and then, the Henrik Stensons of the world, the Charles Schwartzel. But I'm concerned that might be where we're at with LIV. That's my big concern. And then on top of that, like 4 aces winning, like I want a little more parity. That's how I would critique it, which again, it's going to happen. I'd like to think it'll happen next year.
Yeah, I know this is a golf podcast, but like NASCAR's having like one of the best years ever. They've had like 19 different winners this year. So,
and I think they're like, that's what's exciting. Like if a guy has a hot week, he should be able to win. And I get it. Like Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith are just that much better. Their floor, their bad game is so much better than most people. Yeah. Like this was probably the peak week for Peter Uihlein this week, and he couldn't even win.
Yeah.
In a 3-round event, like all it takes is a guy to have a bad but I just think that if we get the same winners over and over, it could become monotonous and boring. And that's the concern. But as an event as a whole, they put on Jason Derulo. They have a lot of fans at these events. The buzz around it is great. The broadcasting to it, while they don't have sponsors, is good. And it's accessible.
Yeah, you see all the golf. You don't get commercials. It's like, and people like it.
Could it be better? Sure.
Well, and it sounds like they're in.
But it's not like the PGA Tour is good.
Well, and it sounds like they're in talks to get some broadcasting rights. It sounds like Fox Sports is actually in.
Which is weird because
they
got rid of the USGA. So to jump on with this, unless LIV's like, hey, we'll flip the bill. Like we just want it to be on actual accessible television, not YouTube.
I mean, Fox Sports doesn't really have any type of ties to golf right now.
That's what like they did with the USGA,
right? Yeah, that's
and they got rid of it. Which
yeah.
is like, why would you get rid of the like? That seems like a pretty big market. So
yeah, and who was part of that Fox team? Greg Norman.
Oh, I forgot. Wow,
yeah. little seed for you.
Tinfoil on the head.
Yeah,
conspiracy theory. But no, am I sitting here shitting? Yes. I was shitting on it. Yes. I was just shitting on people ripping. I want people to look at it from both sides.
Be happy you got 2 tours. Like, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'd rather have all of them playing together, but I do think there's some stuff here that's good, and it's nice. And I don't want to act like I hate it because I don't. I do think there's a way to make this better. I just don't want people to sit there and say, look how stupid the PGA Tour is because their field sucks compared to this. Well, it's like, those are the next guys who are going to be coming up and playing. These are the guys that are basically in that, like, not all of them, but some of them are in that 40 to 50 gap where they like can't compete on the PGA Tour because they don't hit it far. They're older, but they're not qualified for the Champions. So they went and got the bag of money.
Yeah.
Yes, there are young guys, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of where I'm at. The Lee Westwoods, the Impulters of the world, the Sergio Garcias.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, that was a tangent.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's like everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I enjoy listening to people talk about the situation. Again, we've talked to a lot of people that aren't like the biggest golf fans, but they follow the situation along. But I like to hear everyone's perspective because I haven't really heard too many people that have spewed the same thing towards me. Again, from my standpoint, it's you're getting golf all over the place now, and that's, as a person that loves golf, that is fun to tune into. It'll be interesting when you have double the events. I know one thing is like you want to get them all playing in one event, but my counterpoint to that is these guys weren't all playing in one event besides pretty much the majors every single year and the World Golf Championship. Mm-hmm. So what LIV has done now is obviously made the PGA Tour make all their changes to where you're going to get all those guys lining up their schedules to play in the elevated events. So it's again, I think competition's good. Competition's good for everybody. It's what makes products better. I learned that in a business class. So, yeah. I mean,
you're right. It creates new ways of thinking, which is what it's done. And that look, everyone, I hate the people who are like, well, we can't give, LIV credit for the PGA Tour and the changes. It's like, yeah, you pretty much do. Was the PGA Tour going to make some of those changes? Maybe. But anytime something was brought up, they just said, fuck that. That's a stupid idea. We're not going to listen to it. We're not going to listen. Why would we change something that's been working? Well, you haven't had competition. That's why it's been working. Now you do, and you got to adjust.
Yeah.
And so it's creating adjustments, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and I thought, they've been you've kind of said that they've been very smart about some of the moves they've made. And, credit to Danny Rappaport, who's now with the Foreplay Podcast, was with Golf Digest for a long time as a writer. And he brought up a good point. He goes, Greg Norman took LIV Golf and went to 3 of the most popular sites in the United States where the PGA Tour wasn't going to. You went to New York, you went to Boston, and you went to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like those are three prominent locations.
Boston, Chicago every now and then get those playoff events. But yeah, like
I mean, those are big. They're big media outlets, and why not go there every single year?
And here's the thing: I think you can buy tickets online for like $50 now. I've heard reports that like the day of, you can usually get them for really cheap. But on Saturday, you go and watch some of these guys play golf. It's a fun atmosphere. You can go drink. You can kind of day drink. You can party a little bit, and then you have like a Jason Derulo concert. Like, if I'm in Chicago, I want to go to that. Now, is the course the best place for it? No, but it's golf, but louder. Like that's what they're doing, and I think there's a lot of success to it. It is not a golf tour. It is a event that happens to have guys playing golf.
Yeah, I did. So funny you bring up the Jason Derulo. Someone, a friend of somebody that I know was all excited. And this guy's probably in his mid-40s or just turned 40, was all excited. He's like, dude, I get to see Jason Derulo at LIV Golf's event. I was like, that's not something I would really brag about that you're going to do at on a Saturday. Do we all know Jason Derulo songs? Yes, but I wouldn't brag about, hey, I get to see Jason Derulo tonight. That's just not something I would say.
But they've had like, I don't think Marshmallow ended up. No, two friends ended up. They were scheduled to perform, but they had like something come up. But they've had good artists at a lot of these events. I can't rattle through, but they're doing stuff to get fans there, which I think the big concern was like, how are we going to get fans there? And people are going in there having fun. Whether or not they're just making it look like that on social media is a different story. But if there was an event in Detroit, you bet I probably would go.
I would definitely
just to experience what it's all about. And if there's a fucking, it might be Kid Rock or someone performing, like that'd be entertaining.
Yeah, so, I will say credit to them for the Bev cart action they had going on out there.
They made
Bev carts. They made Bev carts on the course. That's thinking outside the box. That's not something I think anybody would think to do.
It's different, which I like. And so, I know there was the shitting part, but I wanted to at least give them their credit where it's due, because I'm sure people will rip on it, but they won't want to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, you were going pretty hard on them, if I'm being completely honest.
They deserve it. Yeah. I mean, I literally we started this podcast so I could just talk about my good grounds of golf. So now we have to talk about LIV.
Yeah, I mean, you're Jekyll and Hyde in the LIV Golf situation right now.
One thing we got to talk about, our guy Jimmy Piatt, James Piatt. My friends call him Jimmy in our group chat. So he had like a 27th place finish. He's played in 5 events, 25th, 22nd, 27th. He had the 47th in Boston and then the 27th this past week. Middle of the road guy. The Nibliks have been struggling. I will say that. Team of finishes 11th, 7th, 7th, 12th. I don't know how they did this past week. I'm sure it wasn't that high. His score, he was second on his team. But the Nibliks are not, and they finished 12th again. Tied for 11th, excuse me. So, they need to figure it out. But
how good does Pat Perez look, though?
Dude, he's collecting the bag.
Just raking in the millions.
Yeah, and this is what he did. Like, good for him. He made. I'm not criticizing him for the decision. Like, for him, a guy who we just talked about that limbo, purgatory between the PGA Tour and Champions Tour. You can go make a lot of money doing this right now instead of sitting in limbo for 5 years, basically.
I'll be interested to see come next year if with the more events, there will be more money to be paid out. Who they'll try to get, because they did just have the 12th ranked amateur in the world. Was it 12th or
that guy? There was like an article that came out about it, but David Puig or not. That's the MLB player. His last name is Puig.
No, his name's David Puig because I saw the name. I was like,
is it David?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, there was a whole article that came out like this dude's been in it for 4 events, I think now or something. Like this is not like the first event. He was on Torque. They don't have a player profile for him. I thought he signed with them a while back, basically. So I was just like, everyone's making a big deal, but
no, wasn't there a new one that just signed with them?
Was it Chichara you're thinking of?
Okay, that was the first one that we talked about from
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah.
So maybe it was Puig.
I'm going to see if I can't pull it. I should have been more on top of this when I brought it up.
It's sad that Eugenio Chichara has a better player profile than James Piatt.
It was David Puig. Yeah, so he announced on September 12th that he'd be joining LIV Tour.
Got it. Okay, so I thought he's the Arizona State kid.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so every time I saw these articles and I was like talking to people about it, I was like, yeah, no, that was the guy who was like 3 months ago. So I'm the idiot.
Okay, yeah. So you threw me for a run. I was like, wait, what a minute?
I had some friends that were like, did you see it? I was like, yeah, it was 3 months late.
Yeah, no, David Puig. So
okay, so that's 2 guys now.
Yeah,
so 2 college guys that they went and got.
Yeah, and people were like, oh my God, like that they're taking the future of golf. I was like, okay, well, how many, like that's only 2 of the top amateurs in the world. Like there's still
But again, they're not Americans. And I just look again. We've talked about it nauseum. I'm guessing the perception for this has to do a lot differently if you're not from the United States. So to criticize these kids, especially when they might not have access, like James Piatt literally didn't have starts anywhere.
Well, here's the perfect way to look at this: is look at how people over in England and Britain and the UK were grieving the Queen.
Yeah,
and what were Americans doing?
They were making
fun
the
of
expense,
it.
and so that's just where
that's just culture.
Different cultures have different perceptions of everything,
yeah.
And so that's just why. But
not to get back into the British Parliament or anything like that.
Yeah, we already informed everyone about that.
Yeah.
But just looking forward, they have a few weeks off. Then they go to Bangkok, October 7th, and they're in Jeddah on October 14th, and then the final season and the final event at Miami at the end of October.
Trump Trail, I've played there.
Wow.
I've also slept in the pool house there, but that's a different story for a different day.
Wow, that's very curious about that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, are the four aces going to continue to just route guys? Probably. The last event is a 4-day event where they have this like tiered team match play, which is kind of cool. Yeah. But we'll see how that goes and everything. But I guess any other thoughts on Rich Harvest Farms, Live Chicago, anything like that?
No, I think the Chicago fans did a great job at showing out because even I think there was a reporter that was out there. It was like a lot of people say like there's only $1 tickets and no one shows up, and they were showing it before the event even started, in cars and people everywhere.
Yeah,
so
I
think people.
Look, Jason Derulo moves the needle.
Yeah. it's something for people to go do.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it's like look, college football's on, NFL's on, all that stuff, but if I'm gonna go do like a day drinking Saturday, like maybe that's a good thing to do if it's in town. It wouldn't be the worst. Like that would be a fun event to go watch professional golfers, the best in the world. Look, I know people are going to hate on me because I was ripping on how the field's not good, but like when I'm saying the best in the world, we're talking about like 400 people in the world who are really good at golf.
There's a lot of
There's some guys, so it's fun to watch.
I mean, 5 years ago, Max Homa was the
53rd, and now he's the best player in the world. So things can change. On the European Tour, big shot, Bobby McIntyre, the lefty, the Scot, wins the Italian Open at Marco Simone in a playoff over Matty, the U.S. Open Fitzpatrick.
And why is this a big deal there?
Marco Simone is where the Ryder Cup's going to be next year.
There you go.
And so a lot of the European Tour guys who potentially could be on their team, obviously they're still like, the PGA Tour is basically come out and said like, you will not be on the Ryder Cup team if you played LIV Golf. That has not happened on the European side. There is still... We don't know, basically. It's a looking like they're not going to be there, but you never know. But there are some guys who are in the field. Bobby McIntyre shot 64 on the final day or final round to win by in the playoff over Matt Fitzpatrick. But then you had Victor Perez finish third. People probably don't know who he is. He was a French guy who I want to say he was on one Ryder Cup team before. If not, he finished late in the match play one time. That's what I thought. But then you had Rory McIlroy, fourth place finish, probably sucked that week, fourth place. Tyrrell Hatton. So it was a relatively good event for some of the Europeans to get a look at what that golf
course is about.
Who was
the highest finishing American in that event?
Kurt Kitayama, who plays a lot more on the European Tour.
Correct, yeah.
None of the Americans played. I mean, they're gearing up for the fucking President's Cup this week.
Yeah, that's true.
They had to take the week off. Unless you were winning a tournament like Max Homa was.
Did. Yeah, fair.
But either way, Edoardo Molinari, 27th finish, best top Italian, I think, if I'm looking, yeah. So just wanted to mention it. Bobby McIntyre most likely will be on the European Tour Ryder Cup team, or the European Ryder Cup team, assuming these LIV guys can't play. But he's got some good vibes at this course. And they're going to trick it up like they did Le Golf National, and I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to play into the advantage of the Europeans,
which
obviously.
They should do.
Yeah,
make it tight, short fairways.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's hard to hit it straight for a lot of the Americans. So
I had that same issue on Saturday.
But we got the President's Cup this week.
Always fun.
I was going to say, what's your juice like for this? Your juice level?
The team aspect for it, to me, is fun. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's President's Cup. Like, one of my favorite Ryder Cups, President's Cups, few years ago was over in Australia.
Yeah, well, that was
when
phenomenal.
Tiger Woods, JT were teaming up, taking down everybody. Like,
it was like 10 p.m. at night. We were watching it.
Yeah, it was great. It was in prime time, so I had a lot of fun with that.
But what made that so fun? Do you think?
Tiger Woods.
Okay, take out Tiger. It was the Americans won 16-14. They almost lost. Like they came back. So I think being close makes for the weekend to be more fun, obviously, and I don't anticipate that happening for this.
See,
I want to be wrong.
I still think there's a chance this is going to be a lot closer than people think. Because at the end of the day, you still got to go out and play the game. And I go back, again, the Ryder Cup a couple years ago where, Matt Fitzpatrick was taking down people. And it felt like it was one of the best United States teams in quite some time. You had Bryson, Brooks,
and they got
DJ.
thwarted.
And they were getting mollywopped.
Yeah, the only thing is, I think where the United States has not done as well is on the road.
I get it's a home event, right?
The home game, But to go to your point, in 2019, which was the last President's Cup at Royal Melbourne, reason wasn't 2 years, obviously because of COVID pandemic. The best international ranked player in 2019 was Adam Scott. He was 18th in the world.
Okay, and
so going in, everyone's like, okay, well, this can be probably a blowout. He was the 11th best ranked guy on the roster. So you combine all 24 players. He was the 11th, the highest ranked player. The average U.S. World Golf ranking was 12th. The best international player this year, Hideki Matsuyama, he's ranked 17th, one ahead of what Adam Scott was. He's the 11th best on both rosters as well. So there's 10 Americans better than him. There's 10 Americans better than Adam Scott. The average ranking for the U.S., 11.6 compared to, so it's very similar. You draw a lot of similarities. And the United States had to have a really good Sunday to win that President's Cup. The thing is, it was at Royal Melbourne. This is at Quail Hollow. Yeah. I think there's a lot of different expectations going in. I think go ahead. Sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but do you think the courses really play that much an advantage nowadays? Because a lot of the courses now here in the United States have kind of, I wouldn't say they've gone link style, but they're kind of linksy, taking a lot of the trees out of the places, and there are a lot of bomb and gouges, I guess you could say. It makes it a little bit longer, but a lot of these guys play overseas a lot nowadays. A lot of these guys play here in the United States, so I don't know if it really necessarily gives that much more of an advantage. I could be wrong.
So where I would say the advantage comes down is course setup. I mean, yes, there's going to be certain courses that are going to better suit, but I think it really comes down to course setup. And in the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, the home team gets to set up the course they want to. So at Whistling Straits, the Americans basically came out and said, we're going to chop the shit out of the rough. It's not going to be long. We're going to make it kind of baked to where you're getting good lies because we hit the ball a mile past you guys, and we don't need to punish ourselves for hitting it past you and maybe offline. Well, what did the Europeans do at Les Golf National? They made short, skinny fairways, thick-ass long rough because their advantage was hitting the fairway. What did the Americans do? They got blown off the face of the earth. Yep. Royal Melbourne, firm, fast conditions. That doesn't, you'd think, so that means Americans can just hit it as far as they want. Like, no, when it's firm and fast, guys who hit it long, they don't have as much control over the golf ball. So I think it's more about course setup. What has Quail Hollow typically been when we've seen PGA Tour events there on the PGA? It is lush, long, bomb and gouge, which basically is like, hey, we're just going to hit it as far down. We're going to have a wedge in. The ball's going to sit on the green and precision doesn't matter as much as hitting the ball far. So in my mind, that's where I think the advantage does come from some of the golf courses.
Yeah, so Golf Digest put out a very good graphic, and they do the tail of the tape. So they go through average age, average ranking, President Cup's appearance, President Cup matches, which international team has 69, which is nice.
Nice.
But the average driving distance, what do you think the average driving distance for the American team is versus the international team?
I literally pulled up Data Golf as you were saying that. I didn't think you were asking. So I know the answer, right? Well, I don't know the answer for the average driving distance. Sorry. Okay. I know where they lie on strokes gained. I would guess 308.
For
the Americans.
Okay. And then what would you say for international team?
302.
So it's 306.9 for the Americans and then 304.3.
So it's pretty close.
So it's a lot closer than people think. And the fact that you have guys that have more President's Cup appearances than the Americans do. With Americans only have 9 and international team has 15, which a lot of those are Adam Scott, but still.
Yeah. No, I mean, my whole point, I think, is, I mean, one, you just have better golfers on the American side.
Agreed.
Too. But yeah, if I'm like looking down the list of strokes gained off the tee, so strictly off the tee, Cam Young's first, Sung Jae Im's second, so there's an international player. Scotty Scheffler third, Penrith and Connors are fourth and fifth. Then you have like 10 straight Americans. Now last place is Kisner. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And Sam Burns is third to last, and that's in the last 6 months. But if you're looking at the top 12, you have 9 Americans in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can stress the analytics all we want. It's just going to come down to, I think for this to be a good event, you need to have the international players have a really good good week, and you need to have the Americans have a really bad week. And that's not like a hot take or anything like that. That's like I'm concerned that it could be after Friday, because they basically do around Thursday and Friday. They do basically 5 groups, so only 2 guys get the buys those days. It could be like 8-2 after going into Saturday, and that's pretty big margin when there's 10 points out there.
Yeah. So obviously with the LIV Golf situation, do you wish they would take the International Presidents Cup team and let some of the Europeans that do get to play in the Ryder Cup play on that team?
Like the Rory Mcilroy quotes?
Well, yeah, like Rory. I think Matt Fitzpatrick would be on that team. I don't know how many others, but
I would rather, which I've said this ad nauseum, I would rather mix them with the women.
Okay.
I just, like, if you're going to have a Ryder Cup, you're going to have a Solheim Cup, do something different. Or just make it every year, like having also the Europeans, it doesn't make sense to me. Didn't it used to at one point be North America against the world? Am I off base?
No, I'm trying to look up the facts of it right now.
Because I don't know what team Mike Weir used to be on. Either way, I just, for some reason I'm thinking that in my head, but I'll look it up.
We can try to fact check it, but
I guess, who are you most excited, like American wise, are you or international? Who are you most excited to kind of watch and see how they do in team competition?
I mean, I think the easy answer for everybody here is, and this is just me being the golfer that I am, I really want to watch Kevin Kisner and see if is he gonna be that same machine that we see in the Dell Match Play tournament every single year. Obviously we've seen guys and some of the rookies see what Sam Burns can do, and because this event brings out different golfers, man. You don't always get the same. You get a little bit more personally. I remember watching Patrick Cantlay in this event in the Ryder Cup last year. Like you get some different reactions that you didn't expect some guys to have, and I think that's the fun part of these events.
For sure. No, I would say, and one I just fact checked, Mike Weir was always on the international team.
Okay, well there you
according to Wikipedia, which very trusted source.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think it is exciting because you get to see a different type of emotion from a lot of these guys, and I think there's an aspect to, like, Cam Young always seems like a bore. And if he's like emotional and excited, I think that'll be fun.
That will be a fun thing to watch, to be honest with you.
I will sit here and say the guy I'm most excited for is Billy Horschel.
Okay.
I like your thought on Kisner. I don't think he's going to play a ton. And I think part of it was like, we'll put him in there to put him in. And I agree. I think it will be very exciting to see how Kisner does in a match play event that basically people have been clamoring for him to get in for the last 7 years. It's not the best course fit for him by any means, but I'm intrigued with that. But I would say Billy Horschel, I think this is something he's wanted for a long time. He's kind of always been on the outside looking in. There was the one year he should have done it. The way the cards fell and the way they picked it didn't make sense. So I think he's going to be a buzzsaw to watch and a lot of fun, because I think he probably knows, hey, like, I might not have another chance at this. Maybe I can get on the Ryder Cup team next year, but probably not. So I'm going to take advantage of this as much as I can.
Yeah, just kind of eat it all up. And I think JT is always a fun one. He kind of reminds you of and he'll credit like a little bit of the Mamba mentality. Seems like a guy that just wants to go out there and eat your soul alive. So JT is always a fun one. I guess on the international side, I don't know if there's anyone that really
moves the needle.
You got what? We got 6 or 7 rookies on that side. That I think that's just going to be fun in itself to watch.
Yeah, looking at the rookies for the international, you have Tom Kim, Corey Connors, KH Lee, Mito Pereira, Sebastian Munoz, Cam Davis, Christian Bezuidenhout, and Taylor Pendrith. So 8 rookies. Which look, I mean, it's been 3 years since the last one, so there's going to be some of that. But yeah, again, like none of these guys truly, move the needle for me too much.
Besides
Tom Kim. I'm excited to see what Corey Connors does, though. I mean, Adam Scott's got to be the voice in that locker room.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Which, we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to see Corey Connors. He's even though he's the 4th highest ranked international player, I'd almost like to think he's probably coming in with the most confidence, him or Sung JM. Hideki has not been great lately. I mean, Tom Kim had a couple good weeks, but he's like 20 years old and he's still just loving that he can eat fast food and stuff. But yeah, and then like, look, if you're looking at like, okay, who are the 2 that we're going to sit out for the internationals first couple events or first couple of days? between like Cam Davis, Christian Bezaid, Siwoo Kim, Taylor Pendrith, KH Lee. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I want this to be close. I want to be excited.
Again, I think it will. I mean, I guess we can move right. There's some other things we can maybe touch on, but I don't know if we got too much. But kind of, what's your prediction? Like, you kind of have a feeling it's going to be a blowout. So what do you think? There's 30 points available. Mm-hmm. I think the weather's supposed to be pretty good throughout the week. I haven't seen anything too crazy.
And just so everyone knows, Thursday is foursomes, I believe, for four ball. It's alternate shot or best ball, but you have five groups. So the way it's different from the Ryder Cup's only Friday, Saturday, Sunday. President's Cup, you actually have, but they play 36 Friday, Saturday. President's Cup, you play 18 Thursday, 18 Friday. But instead of having 4 guys sit out in both of those, they only have 2 each sitting out.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a little more points. And then you have the normal Saturday and the normal Sunday. Look, I don't think it's going to be over going into Sunday, like clinched by any means. You need to get to 15 points to clinch. And there's only a possible 18 points, so they would have to be up 15-3, that would be like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But I definitely expect the Americans going into Sunday singles to be over 12 points. So I think it'll be 12-6 at like minimum. That's my expectation.
So you're expecting a slaughter.
I'm expecting them to have a 6-point lead. And so for the international then to go win on that Sunday, they would have to go 9-3. Look, that's just what I'm thinking.
Okay. No, that's fair.
My hot takes have been great lately. Tony Finau, Max Homa.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm wrong. But
not to be a dick, but I think you're going to be wrong.
Okay.
I think it's going to be
close.
close.
You're not being a dick. You look on DraftKings right now, you can get United States minus 700. Fuck.
Yeah, I honestly think you can see like a 16.5 to 13.5 with hopefully it coming down to the final matches on Sunday.
I hope you're right.
I just think this international team's going to play balls to the walls. They have literally nothing left to lose.
That is the one thing you do say, like, we talk about, like, ignorance is bliss. A lot of these guys have not been in this before, which, like, it could be good or bad, but, like, there is zero expectations.
Correct.
If they lose, like, cool, we expect you to lose. If they lose 20-10, cool, that was expected. The Americans, look, if they, like, let's say they come out Thursday in the internationals and they make it 3-2, the internationals win, oh boy. Then it's like, okay, we're fine. But then if you get a little momentum to start Friday, then it's like, okay, now we're starting to clench the fist. So that Thursday is going to be a big day. And working from home that day, it'll be great to watch. It'll be great to have on. I'm guessing it probably won't start till noon, 1 o'clock-ish. But I'm excited for Thursday, Friday because it'll be great to have on while I'm working from home.
Yeah, agreed. And then I'll have to figure out my TV situation because I usually have 2 TVs for football on Sunday. I'll have to figure out a third TV option. I guess I'll maybe go to Monitor or something to hook up to my laptop.
You won't have to watch, man.
What, for this weekend?
Yeah.
No, it's going to be close. It's not going to be as far apart like you think it is. Your hot takes have been bad, so that's why I'm going opposite of what you're saying.
I know. For the record, when it comes to the course fit tool on Data Golf, I'm just looking at the guys who have the most to gain from this golf course. Americans have like 11 or 9 of the top 11, I believe.
Yeah, those are just numbers, though.
No,
you got to go out there and play it.
Man. Samalytics, just saying. Excuse me, 8 of the top 10.
I'm going to start calling you Billy Bean.
Hey, I would take a massive compliment behind that. So
yeah, that's fair.
But no, either way, that's my take. Cantlay and Schauffele will be together. They'll do very well. Jordan Spieth is the veteran in the group.
Him and JT kind of leading the team from what Zach Johnson said, which is crazy to think about.
That is crazy to think.
They're the same age as we are.
Yeah. Class 2011.
Yeah, making me feel old.
Hey, man, I love making the joke, class of 2011. I think Tony Finau,
best golf class of all time.
Yeah, I mean,
we were in it. Justin Thomas.
We were the reason that we pushed so many guys who pushed so many guys who pushed so many guys who pushed those guys to be good.
Correct. Which
so
I didn't start.
Ipso facto, transitive property. You got to give us some credit.
Yeah, I didn't start playing golf till after high school. So
okay, well, hey,
they knew I was coming.
Yeah, they knew.
That's why they got so good. So I couldn't get on tour.
The lowest ranked player on the United States team is Kevin Kisner, which surprised me. Not that he was the lowest ranked player, but that he was 25th in the world.
Yeah,
like fuck. You have 12 of the top 25 on your team. Like, it's a pretty good team.
I can't wait to see Zach Johnson out there hyping up the crowd. He was always fun to watch. Mm-hmm. He was a big team guy in the Ryder Cups and President's Cups in the past.
And he's the captain for Marco Simone, I believe, in Italy. Do any guys crush beers like Danny Berger and Justin Thomas did at the Whistling Straits?
I hope so.
I do too.
That'd be fun. Wait, so he's back? Oh no, because Davis. Yeah, so Davis loves the captain, and
but Zach Johnson's the captain for the Ryder Cup.
Assistant,
yeah.
Correct. Yeah, but he's assistant this week.
Correct. Yep.
Assistant captain.
One guy who you would expect to crush a beer, other than Justin Thomas, because he's done it before.
Hopefully Tom Kim.
American.
Yeah.
Cam Young gets on like a knee and starts crushing a beer, bonging a beer. That'd be funny.
Don't be surprised. Cam Young looks like a guy that can put back some Budweiser. Not even Bud Light, Budweiser. He looks like a Budweiser type of guy.
Bud heavy kind of guy. I think Billy Horschel, if he's not playing, he'll be like the biggest gung-ho cheering guy, but I don't think he'll drink a beer.
No, because his wife battles alcoholism. So
okay, yeah, definitely tough take there.
Yes.
Xander Schauffele maybe sitting back with a big old cigar.
Yep, I could see that.
But either way, we'll see. They're gonna win.
I think they're gonna win regardless. But just yeah, like you said, if it gets close on Thursday and Friday, those buttholes could probably pucker up a little bit.
I would be shocked if the United States does not get to 20 points.
Part of me just wants to throw a little bit money on the would that be wrong? Even though I'm rooting for the Americans, if I just sprinkled some money on the international team?
No, it's also like plus 1,600 for a tie, which there's only been one tie in President's Cup history. When was it?
I have no idea.
2003 at Royal Melbourne.
Oh,
Tiger Woods and Ernie Els. They did like a playoff. I actually didn't know about, like, right before we were recording, I was watching a video when you were running around. They both had like sick 2-putts on the third playoff hole, and then it was like running out of daylight. And they're like, all right, we're going to call this a tie. But of course, Tiger Woods made like a 15-footer to put the heat on Ernie Els.
Hell yeah. Shout out Tiger. Missed that guy.
And when I say 2-putt, like, yeah, it was a 15-footer for a 2-putt because his first was like 150 feet.
I hope Tiger Woods plays good enough golf next year to be a captain's pick.
I think he'll be at the Ryder Cup, whether he'll be as a basically a captain.
Yeah, who was it? I saw an article that I forgot. I think it wasn't Justin Thomas. Who was it? I can't remember which player, but they were pretty much like, Tiger, just apply for the medical exemption golf cart. It'd be good for the game of golf.
It would be, probably.
Yeah,
you might not want to do that though.
He wouldn't. That's what I think the point of the article is. People know his pride will get to him.
Yeah, which I don't blame him.
Yeah, but like he's already admitted that his leg will never be 100% again. So why don't just get in the cart?
Yeah,
John Daly does it. Imagine John Daly and Tiger just riding around in the PGA Championship next year together.
I think that would be awesome, and they're in the same group, just ripping it down.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Yeah.
My only problem is like with that is when does like every guy just say, "Hey, like give me a cart"?
Well, you have to get in a car accident and almost lose your leg.
No, I know, but I'm not saying like what Tiger had happened is like now, but at some point it's going to keep going down the line.
You think eventually people are going to be carts on the tour?
That might be a good question for another podcast. Is like, well, I have a question here in a second, so maybe we just talk about that right now. But
yeah.
I don't have an issue with carts on the tour. I mean, there's an issue probably with like crowd control and stuff like that, but
yeah. I mean, all the spectators drive the carts throughout the crowd, anyways.
Yeah, so I'm kind of at the point where, look, I do think there's a big aspect of we want people to walk.
I just had a huge idea pop into my head.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I just
think of the marketing and stuff. Like if
you could get more brand.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, think of all of the, like, obviously everyone would have their own golf cart with your caddy. Your caddy would be riding around. But like sponsors, you trick those things up, make them look like a NASCAR ride out there, have sponsors.
Well, kind of like what they did with the match.
Yeah, essentially so.
Why doesn't LIV do that?
Someone's going to do it here eventually.
Hey, they just added shorts. Next, they're going to do golf carts.
The players should probably push for that. Players and caddies. Then you get a little bit of marketing, get more sponsorship deals.
I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, we are great idea guys over here. Someone needs to put us on the PGA Tour or LIV Golf committees. They probably hate us. They probably just hate us.
All right, but I have this question for you.
All right.
And the reason it came up was there were some people who created some viral videos of people at Rich Harvest Farms for LIV. And so I want to know your opinion of spectators who go to a golf event wearing golf shoes. What is your thoughts on that?
So I had this conversation earlier today with somebody.
Okay, I'm sure I was going to say, it's like, I'm sure you saw the videos that prompted that question.
So these Air Maxes, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting them up in the camera right now. These are golf shoes.
Oh, those are?
These are golf shoes. And
what?
Yes, Air Max golf shoes by Nike Air.
So those look like nice shoes. Like,
yes.
I'm surprised you're just comfortably wearing them. Actually, no free ads.
Yeah, just walking around all the time. So shout out Nike, I'll take a sponsor. But yeah, these are golf shoes. I bought them at when I was part of Nike staff a couple years ago, and they're just as comfortable as Air Maxes. And people would never know that I was walking around a golf. If I wore this to a golf course, people wouldn't know they were golf shoes. I don't mind the spikeless ones. The guys that actually wear their cleated spikes. Even the guys that I've seen people wear the metal spikes, that's a little too far. Have you ever seen the guys that have the golf gloves in the back pocket too?
Oh, I know. I was literally gonna say that. Like, come on.
Those are the same old dudes that go to a baseball game and bring their gloves still.
Yeah.
Regardless of where they sit.
I just look, I have no problem with. My whole thing is perception. I don't want to look like the guy who wears his golf shoes to the tournament.
Correct.
The only time I could maybe see is if you're going to watching in the freaking it's soaked or something, and it's going to give you more traction or maybe keep water out of your shoe. But yeah, just I would wear tennis shoes or something like that. But even my spikeless golf shoes, they still look like golf shoes. They don't look like those. So I would wear those. I would not wear any of my spikeless ones.
Yeah, it all depends too, because I have Puma ones that people know the Puma ones that are spikeless, and they look a little bit like golf shoes, but at the same time too, they're waterproof. So if you're going out there early in the morning,
they do. Yeah, I mean,
I don't hate it.
I think you're like a L7 weenie.
Yeah,
again, the real looking golf shoes.
Yes, like the all leather FootJoys that have the spikes in the bottom. That's
come on.
Just throw some tennis shoes on, dude.
Yeah,
you're not getting subbed in anytime soon.
What? Should we wear a Detroit Lions helmet to the Lions
even
game?
caddies don't even wear golf shoes.
That's where I net out on. A caddy won't even wear their golf shoes. They have tennis shoes on. So why are you as a spectator who's just walking on the side, enjoying a leisure walk, wearing golf shoes? Not you.
Right.
I'm looking at you talking, but
yeah,
I just wanted to get that out. I'm sure people will bitch at me for it.
But. No, I think I'm with you on that. Is if you can make it look discreet like these. I think the Nike's done a good job at making some of their spikeless golf shoes look like actual tennis shoes.
Yeah.
So
you can get Jordans now.
Yeah.
So.
I got another pair that I've worn in here a couple times that people are like, wait, those are golf shoes? And it says Jordan Golf right on them. But again, they look like the Jordan 1s low top. So you wouldn't know. I think there's a way to go about it. But also if you just don't have style, then you're never going to have those shoes.
Yeah, good point. Which is me. So. Birdie Bogey of the week, though.
Birdie of the week. So I think this is a joint birdie for both of us.
Why don't we start with our bogey then, and then because I think we wrap up the show with our birdie.
All right. So my bogey of
do you have a bogey?
I do have a bogey of the week. So I kind of have two. They're not crazy things, but they're definitely weird. At least the first one is. So I pride myself on being a really, really heavy sleeper. I sleep through everything, and people could say that's a good thing. It's a bad thing.
We definitely know that. Yeah.
But the other night I was sleeping and I woke up to a thunderstorm, and that doesn't ever happen to me. And it kind of has me wondering the last few days now am I getting to the point where I'm getting older where I don't sleep as hard? Because I think as you get older with age, you don't sleep nearly as good.
Yeah.
And now I'm worried about I'm getting too old. So that's kind of a bogey for me. And the thunderstorm was loud, and I've asked people no, that was a wild storm, but it's honestly the first one that I've woken up to in years.
Could have been toward how you have the sleep cycle.
REM cycles.
Yeah, you could have been right in between where if you sleep for 6 hours, it kind of resets halfway through.
Yeah,
you could have been in that lull, where you're in light sleep. I don't know. That's a bummer. I mean, you're talking to someone who literally I hear the door open, I wake up.
Yeah.
So dude, if I'm planning on sleeping in that day on the weekend, I have to, sometimes it gets hot in the bedroom. I have to close the door because any hint of light that comes through wakes my ass up. So I can't relate to this. But that's a tough break that you're getting old.
Well, so it's funny because before I started dating my current girlfriend now, I used to sleep without I'd have blinds, the ones that you just kind of twist shut, and tons of daylight would come in. So, and she stayed the night. She's like, "There's no way I can sleep like this." So she got me she brought me blackout curtains. And I don't know how I went for so long with sleeping. I'd essentially be sleeping in daylight, which I never thought was a big deal. That's just how hard of a sleeper I was that I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I can't. I need it to be pitch black for me.
But now I do, yeah.
No, my old house, when I lived in for 4 years, I didn't put one thing up in my room. I didn't have blackout curtains yet, knowing this is an issue of mine. So, that's on me. Yeah. Moment moved in. I put them up right away. I was like, got it. I need this now. So.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the sun used to set where I lived before. Now it rises into the windows. So, if you don't have those, you're getting pelted with light. But.
Yeah, which I guess is a bad thing for me because sometimes I'll have those blinds shut all the way and I'll wake up on a weekend and it's it's probably 8, 9 in the morning. No, it's 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah, see, that's incredible. If I sleep in past 9, maybe once or twice a year, and that's because I was out till 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, no, I could do it every single day. Well, I could go to, and it doesn't matter what time of day. If I go to bed at 2 a.m., I could sleep till 2 the next day. If I go to bed at 10 a.m., I could sleep to 2 the next, or 10 at night, I could sleep to 2 the next. It's just, that's what kind of sleeper.
Lucky.
I guess the other kind of bogey of the week, Monday Night Football was last night, and I laid down on my bed, 2 sleeping ones, kind of weird. I laid on my bed at like 6:30. I was like, I'm going to take a quick nap. And
we had the doubleheader.
Yeah, doubleheader. I was like, I'm going to be up watching football tonight, so I'm going to get a quick nap in. Well, I laid down, took a nap, and I woke up at like 10 o'clock. Again.
And you missed the Bills.
Dangerous. I'm a dangerous sleeper, I guess, what you would say.
Like, actually.
Yeah, 2 bogeys, sleeping.
Well, my bogey has to do with that Monday night game. And, me and my buddies, we all pick something in these same game parlays, and we established a rule that we literally established this Saturday night. And the loser, if we have a 4-way parlay and one person costs us the parlay, the other 3 are right, that person has to buy breakfast sandwiches for everyone. Well, I read that, like, Tannehill, analytics say he should get 15 rushing yards, and I found it that the odds were 10. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's put him in. Like, 10 yards, like, that's 5 below what he should be getting. So, cool, let's do that. And I'm thinking, they're playing the Bills. A lot of quarterback pressure. He's probably going to be running for his freaking life and create a few scrambles. Well, what happens? He runs for 2 yards, and in the middle of the third quarter, because he sucks so much and can't get out of the freaking pocket and there's no protection, they yank him out of the game. Like, literally, there was 20 minutes left in the game. They were just getting killed that bad. I didn't disagree with them pulling him out from Malik Willis. It was just like, and by the way, the first play Malik Willis does runs for like 12 yards.
Yep.
Awesome. So I cost the team a bet there, but for them, they get their free breakfast sandwiches. So that's fine, but I
like that. That's fun. Like, everyone picks a little leg. That's actually kind of cool to do.
The good side is we did one for the Eagles-Vikings game, and that one did hit. We've done like 7 of these this year, probably on football, and that was our first time hitting. So
all right, well,
you could say we're on some momentum.
Let me know if you do a golf one for President's Cup. I might want in on that.
I might have to figure that out. Might have to get some of the some guys around and see what we can do.
Yeah.
Hey, a couple matchups here and there.
Yeah.
But I guess, now, like, maybe talk to our birdie of the week.
Yeah, birdie of the week. So Sam was going to have me out to Walnut Creek, where he's a member at.
With 2 other guys.
2 other guys. And then come to find out they had the greens punched, which is getting that time of year.
It's just a tough time of year.
Shout out to all our fellow golfers out there. It's tough. Punch greens, it's a necessity, but it still sucks.
I complain every time, even though I know it's a thing.
But make sure you thank a greenskeeper for all their hard work.
Yeah.
But it does suck, regardless of the fact. But it needs to be done. So we have a buddy, Justin, that just joined Inverness.
The Inverness Club.
He's never played the Inverness Club down in Toledo.
I was the only one who had actually played it.
Yeah. And you kind of made the joke in our group chat that we were all in together. You're like, hey, JB, did you join Inverness? Let's go down there.
Thinking.
As a joke.
And he was like, yeah, I joined yesterday. So that was lucky. And to anyone who doesn't know what Inverness is, it's hosted a number of major championships back in the day. They hosted recently the Solheim Cup last year.
Yep.
And they are hosting a U.S. Amateur Junior. Yep. They've hosted U.S. Junior Am in 2019. I think they're hosting a U.S. Amateur in 2029.
Yeah, 27
and a U.S. Women's Open in 2027. So it's a really good course. It might be a Junior Am again. But it's a really good golf course. I think it's really good, like, major championship course for the women.
Yeah,
it would feature that. But yeah, I mean, top 100 golf course in Toledo, Ohio. Donald Ross design, Andrew Green redesign or renovation, and I really liked it. And so yeah, being able to get out on Inverness was a ton of fun. You filmed the SIG series.
Yep, got one coming out probably Thursday of this week.
We're jacked up for.
Yeah,
your partner was in the stream on that hole.
Yeah, we had some issues on that one, so that'll be.
You hit 5 good shots.
No, the wedge shot I did not hit was very good.
Well, spoiler.
Yeah, a little spoiler alert, but
it'll be out.
And the putt wasn't very good either. So
it was a tough one.
But I hit 2. Yeah, you'll see it on video. Check it out. Make sure you.
But what I would say is, it's a fun course. They basically, the inside, the middle 9, or the back 9 is in the middle of the golf course, and the front 9 kind of is on the outside of it. And the front 9 is where they did a lot of the work. They added a lot of length to, and it's a really, really good front 9 design. The only interesting thing about the golf course, which I never thought of, but you pointed out, there's 13 par 4s.
Yes. Normal
golf courses have 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, so there's 10 par 4s. This one had 3 par 3s, 2 par 5s. So I do think the back 9 gets a little monotonous. Basically feel like you're playing the same hole back to back to back times, but it's a phenomenal golf course, and it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's very well kept. Again, top 100 in the country. For obvious reasons, there's a reason that they go and have major events there, because it's a true test of golf.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the story of my day was I felt like I hit some pretty good shots that had really bad breaks.
Yeah.
And that happens in golf.
Yeah, no, and that's that golf course that I think people maybe look on paper and see, okay, what's so much harder about this golf course than another course, and that's the best way to put it, is you'll hit good shots there, and you're not always on the defense, but just things aren't going to bounce the way you expect it to, or they're not going to go that way where maybe you miss it slightly offline, and now you have a bunker shot where your head's at the edge of the top of the green, and it's hard to stop. It's just missing a little bit there creates a lot more headaches than maybe at another course. And like I joked, I posted a score that was 7 shots worse than what I shot the day before, and in the handicap, it was only basically 1.3 shots worse.
Yeah,
it's just that much harder. So.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back and play it again. I would love to play it again because there's just a lot of things I didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
Even when Sam gave me hints about what was happening, I wasn't either 1, paying attention, or 2, just didn't hear him.
But also, I played it once, and it was not 18 months, 12, 15 months ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I definitely want to get back, and I feel like I definitely go out there and score a little bit better.
Yeah, but shout out to our guy JB for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really going to wrap up our episode this week. Again, President's Cup, not President's Trophy. Jesus, I'm going to figure it out eventually. It's fun. The team atmosphere is different. I hope we see some guys shotgunning some beers. I hope maybe I can get out and play some golf. I don't really have too many plans this weekend, so maybe play some golf somewhere this weekend.
I'm just playing Friday. That's it.
Yeah, so I might try.
I might be in an outing Sunday, actually.
I might try to do something on Saturday or Sunday. But for everyone else, I know a lot of you guys will be out there hitting the links as fall time's here, and you're trying to get the last rounds in. So if you do, hit them far, hit them straight.